When you're a kid, you don't even know what a mistake is. And as you grow into being an adult, we learn very quickly what a mistake is and sometimes get allergic to even making them. And it's really, really hard to unlearn, let alone foster an entire culture and grow a company around the idea that it is okay to make mistakes and to grow from them, learn from them, and grow with the company as you make them. We're going to talk about that idea today with Buddy Henley of Henley Construction. He has built his entire team around the concept of it is okay to make mistakes, and he learned that from his dad and has brought it forward into this generation and is passing it on to the next generation at the company. So if you want to dive into what it's like to create a culture of people that are willing to make little micro risks that ultimately end up delivering more work, higher quality, on-time delivery, and better results for your customers, today's episode is for you. This episode is sponsored by Genesis AEC, Steel Toe Communications, and this episode is also sponsored by Illuminate. Buddy, welcome to the Breakout Moment. I'm so happy and excited to have you on the episode today. We have just been chatting about all the mistakes that we have made and all the things that we have learned from those mistakes. And I kind of want to start there because like many people who come on the show, we talk about lots of breakout moments. It wasn't just one breakout moment, but I think the mistakes we make along the way is what leads to a lot of breakout moments. So I thought I would kind of kick you off with that and kind of continue the conversation there.
Well, first off, thank you for having me here, Christina. It's truly an honor to be here. So yeah, we do make a lot of mistakes, and I've made a lot myself. And as we were talking about earlier, one of the first mistakes, I was a young superintendent very early in my career, and I was very concerned about making a mistake. I thought it'd be, end my career right there. And I had one job in particular, and the layout was complicated, trying to get this right. And I was paired up with a seasoned superintendent at the job. And he was pushing me. He said, "Why don't you go out there and do the footings for the media center?" And I'm like, "Because I'm scared to make a mistake, Pete. I can't figure this out." And he was a German guy, very heavy German accent. He started chuckling. And he says, "Just go out there and do it." And he said, "If you never screw anything up in life, you've never done anything." But then he had a very serious face. He says, "But if you screw it up, you got to be able to fix it." So I was like, that's so true. So I did go out there and do it. And then that's really been my motto ever since. If you don't take a risk in life, that you're never going to get anywhere. You have to make mistakes, and as long as they're not huge.
Right.
But yeah, trial and error and push things a little bit. And that's really how you're going to move forward in life.
How do you, I agree 100%. Everything that I feel like the big lessons I've learned didn't really necessarily sometimes come out of a book. It was more so, I didn't quite do that right, and have to go back, retrace my steps, redo it. And I find when I do that, I learn so much more and consequently usually don't make the mistake again. But how do you take that idea as a leader and make a space for people to feel safe within your company, make mistakes? Because I know that is something like you felt as a young superintendent. Now that you have young superintendents and people that work for you, how do you, reassure them that it's going to be okay if you make a mistake?
So I really try to reinforce them that what the end project needs to look like. I said, when we finish, it needs to look like this. I said, here's how I would do it. But if you have another way, we can try it if you have another idea, because I'm not the only one with good ideas. So they might come up with something and we try it, and I don't let them fail. Like I go out and looks like you're having trouble or something, but I really support them along the way, because it gives them better job satisfaction too. If they can take ownership in something and know that their way got us there. And sometimes it does happen where they make a mistake. And we had an incident, it was probably 20 years ago, where one of the young superintendents, I told him how to get there, and he went totally deviated.
See, we almost made a mistake.
See, I almost did, absolutely, and we saved it.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
So he deviated from what I told him, and then he called me that evening very upset, and he goes, "You know what? I screwed up royally." He goes, "I didn't hit the mark that you said to hit. I'll bring back the truck. I'll turn my tools in." He thought he was fired. I was like, did you learn anything from this? He goes, oh, absolutely. I said, so you would never do that again, right? He goes, no, I won't. And now he's one of our senior superintendents 20 years later. And he reinforces the same thing to the young people he's mentoring. So we really try to be supportive of it. It has people develop. We want to have people grow with us and learn our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And we provide mentoring and coaching. We put people with people. Like I was with a senior superintendent. It was actually his first superintendent my father ever hired when he started the business. So he knew how we did things. So I was very fortunate in learning from Pete on all that. And actually several people in our company have learned from Pete as well.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So he was a good mentor to many of us.
Well, and he's able to you're able to bring those stories of like, look, I did this, right? Mm-hmm. It's okay if you do this too. I'm going to be here to help you, you know, yes. when that happens. And I think that's really important for any organization. You know, so you were mentioning that you really love bringing, I think all of us do, you know, seeing people grow up through the company, providing opportunities. So as the company grows, they grow too. And, you know, I was mentioning, I noticed that you have a vice president who started out as an intern at your company, and just that long tenure and what it takes to kind of foster something like that. Can you talk a little bit more about how you mentor people, bring them up, and you know, through the different seasons of a career? Because it truly is seasons. It's not just rungs of a ladder. It's also seasons of life.
Yeah, so many people we have there, we have had intern with us and then continue after the intern, because we really do try to coach people, mentor them, give them opportunity to grow. And we sit down and talk with them and say, where do you want to go with your career? What do you like? And we try to get them on a career path that gives them job satisfaction, because it's also personal satisfaction, a work-life balance type thing.
Yeah.
So like in Matt's case, he's now vice president, and he's been there quite a while. And it's funny because the pictures you'll see of him on the website, he still looks like middle school pictures, which is so funny. But now he's got gray hair and whatnot, but he's not that old. But yeah, he started out and he did really well. And he just took to what we're doing and really grasp it. And he has mentored several people now too. So it's gone well. The whole coaching, mentoring, and something we've done more recently is we found, we asked people like, what do you like to do in your spare time? Because then you find out somebody likes to plan parties or something. I was like, well, you can help plan the company party. And it gives them more job satisfaction, because like, wow, this is what I really enjoy doing. I get to go to work and do what I love.
I agree with that. I have never prescribed to the idea that the person that walks through the door is supposed to leave all the rest of themselves outside of the door and only be the work version of themselves when they walk in. And obviously there has to be some sort of boundaries around that, but you don't leave more than half of who you are in your car waiting for you when you get off work. You bring your whole self to work. And so the ability for you to tap into those interests, keep people engaged, you know, and bring more of that, it adds more cohesiveness. I know when I was an employee and not an employer, that's something that I appreciated in the work environments that I was in, where someone would notice a talent or something that I enjoyed doing. And a lot of times it means you end up with a little extra few things, but you know, they're satisfying. They're definitely satisfying for sure. So you have, speaking of mentorship, you have a history with ABC, the organization, which has a very strong advocacy towards apprenticeships, mentoring the next generation. Can you talk to me a little bit about that and how you bring that also into the company?
Yeah, so in 2024, I was national chairman for Associated Builders and Contractors. Prior to that, I was involved in local chapters. I'm still involved, because once you get involved, they don't let you become uninvolved.
No, they don't.
But it's truly a passion of mine, because they do so much good. Like workforce development, providing people the opportunity to get into the construction industry, because construction industry is such a great industry, and there's so many points of entry. Like I think ABC tracked 325 points of entry where you could come and get into the construction industry. And once you're in, and you can go anywhere you want to go with this, you can end up owning your own business eventually. You don't have to have a college degree to own your own business in construction. You can get in and work hard. You can start your own HVAC company. You can do whatever you want to do. And there was a survey done that construction workers that have 255 industries. The construction industry was ranked number one for job satisfaction and happiness, because it is something that, once you train people and they get to be part of a big project, you can drive by a building for 30 years and say, I had a part of that. I got to do, the masonry on it, or put the windows in, or did the HVAC, or whatever it may be. So it's just job satisfaction. You get to drive by and show your family, your kids. And ABC does so much with training and getting people involved that it's really satisfying to be involved with that.
When did you first become involved with the organization?
My father was a member back in probably 1970. I got involved around 1998.
Okay.
And started going to events and stuff like that. I think it was 2010 I got involved in the local chapter on the board. Prior to that, I was in some committees. So started out slow, and then once you're involved in the chapter, then I became regional vice chair and then national. And it's so great on that level, because as a national chair, I get to travel around the country and meet other ABC members at other chapters, and it's all like family. We all have shared values. Mm-hmm. I'm going to so many things, like I went to Houston, and they had a career event, and there's high school kids. They had trucked in from all over Houston. I think it's about 300 or 400 high school kids, and they had a different work environment set up, like running a little mini excavator or climbing a scaffold. They got the tie off and learn the proper safety techniques. It was so good to see that they were getting young people involved in industry. So
absolutely. Well, and I know that nationally, even locally here in Maryland, apprenticeships are such a big push for that right now. Mm-hmm. And just there's such a value for, I'm actively involved with the local community college here, in kind of bridging the gap between what we're training and providing roads to internships and jobs moving forward, and kind of getting a closer knit conversation, so that graduates, people who are going to technical school, understand that there's multiple roads available to you. Yeah. And I really appreciate that kind of giving back, but also seeing those people, get in, grow, and flourish, especially right now when things are just changing. They're always changing quickly, but they just, I don't know, they feel like they're speeding up even more so now than they were before. So
things like AI, you talk about how fast something changes, like AI.
We talk about it all the time. I hate to say the word AI anymore. Yeah,
but what that brings to construction
should be
industry.
A drinking game.
Yes.
It is. It's going to, there's no industry it's not going to touch.
Yes.
There really isn't an industry it's not going to touch. It's very interesting so to see where that's, what are you guys doing with AI?
One of the things that we're just starting to integrate is like contract reviews and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Document review, and we have agents set up that, like, if you want to search for, I don't know, who's going to do a certain task, you can enter it in. It'll search in the specs, the plans, and the contract, and it tells you. Instead of having to. It saves a lot of time for the project managers and superintendents. God, who did we contract this to? And they can just like that.
It is. It really for those type of things, I think it's really, really interesting. I've seen some really interesting use cases for it.
And do some preliminary estimates with it too. I mean, it does take off. I mean, it's just amazing how quick it can happen. So we do like monthly training in-house. We have one person on staff who's passionate about it. Again, we talked about somebody's passion, and we found somebody's passionate about it, and she leads the training for the whole team.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. So, yeah. That's a lot of fun. I'm so glad to hear that you're doing that, because there's a lot of times this industry is, particularly the built environment, is kind of slow to come to the new stuff. It just has always been a little bit that way, not always bleeding edge on everything. Right. So it's good. It's really good to see some of those things being taken care of. So you mentioned, the concept of family. Obviously, you and your dad, as you're looking forward into the future, not only how do you continue those values now, but how do you bring those values, kind of into the wider family that you have, in the company. And if you were talking to somebody who was going through something similar or will be, let's say in the next 5 to 10 years, what would you tell them?
Well, we talked about making mistakes. So you really
Yeah.
got to mentor people, let them make mistakes, figure things out, but really get people engaged early. Um, some people always say that today's youth want things right now, like instant satisfaction, instant gratification, but really it takes a little bit of time to get the experience on things. So really get them engaged as soon as you can so that they can have that experience over time. Um, so give them opportunity to make their own decisions with the company, but not if it involves safety, as we talked about earlier.
Right.
I mean, that's hard line. Like you can't do that. That's not safe. But other things, let them try it. Let them explore it. Let's see how it goes for the company. They may have great ideas. They may be your future leader that's going to pop out. If a light bulb comes on, they get engaged and they're like, yes, I love this. I can do this. And they take a project and run with it. I mean, that's what you're looking for. Somebody who can be a true leader.
How do you foster that kind of innovation, mistakes, things like that when, like I noticed a lot of the projects that you do are, they're strict bid projects, they're schools. So you're looking at something that's very, shall we say, rigid.
Yeah.
How do you bridge the gap, between those two worlds of something that's when you have to perform a contract that's very clearly defined and allowing people to almost, play jazz, so to speak.
It what we find though is so many of our projects finish early because of that though.
Okay.
So and that really helps foster. I know if the owner's on board with that and they're getting their project on time, they're not fighting a contractor and like trying to get something open, that things are opening early, they're a lot more open to working with you and
taking micro risks.
Yes,
basically.
And if you have to communicate with them and clearly show them up front what you're going to do, instead of presenting schedules that show, with frag nets and delayed claims and whatnot, like, hey, this is a delay, but here's how we mitigated it, and here's what we're going to do, and here's where you're going to get your project. So that usually goes over really well.
Yeah.
Open, honest communication.
I think too, and I think that's a lesson for anyone in business, not just from a construction perspective. Proactive communication goes such a long way, and
Yes.
transparency goes such a long way. You can actually create an environment where the customer is okay with you making mistakes because you have been upfront. You haven't made the mistake and you're coming back behind with like, oh, we tried to hide this, et cetera, et cetera. And I think, that's something that's not easy to mentor and teach, that it is okay to admit to the customer there's something that has happened.
Yeah, just be honest up front and say, hey, we screwed up here, but here's what we're going to do to fix it. And they're totally happy.
They are.
Yeah.
Well, and it's always...
They trust. It's like Franklin Covey's Speed of Trust, Stephen Covey's book. And
yes.
If people
Great
trust
book.
each other, they can work together so much more efficiently. And that's really what we try to build.
Yes. I think that's what we all try to build is that trust and that safe space to make mistakes so that we can deliver ahead of schedule.
Yes. And I had one subcontractor. She's actually out of Frederick. But she would call me up and ahead of time and say, my guys aren't going to be there in the morning because they have to go and load a truck. They'll be there by 11. And that's so much better than getting there, where are they? And you're calling their office and you're not going to answer until 8 or whatever. She was very proactive all the time and open and honest, and it made things go so much smoother.
It really does. Yeah, we look for, when we work with, other customers, subcontractors, we look for that tight-knit, like, values. We have the same value set. So for us, even for when we onboard a new customer, we're very transparent with what our values are. And that, it's just as much, yes, you're our customer, but this is a partnership. And, so we look for trust. We look for transparency. We look for accountability. We'll hold ourselves to that. We also want you to hold us to it, but you also need to bring that to the table as well. And that's, I think, is what makes a lot of our projects be very successful, is because we define that up front.
Absolutely.
So,
like you said, open, honest communication, set expectations, and it really works out well. Because in our thing, the construction stuff, and a lot of it's phased occupied renovations, a lot of give and take. Like if we take this room early, we'll give you back these 3 rooms, and there's always that kind of trade-off going on. And it really does take, we always say it's a 3-legged stool: architect, owner, and the contractor.
Life's a 3-legged stool.
Yes.
Anything can fit that metaphor, by the way.
And there's also a little thing about quality, time, price, and all that. Like
all
which
of
one
it.
you want. So it really is about communication and people working together. And again, you try something new. That's what we talked about. Let people make a mistake. If somebody's got an idea that they can rephase something and take 1 extra room, but give them 3 earlier, I mean, that works out great for everybody.
I think we all win. We either learn something or we end up with a more positive outcome, regardless of the origin, or even you can even reframe it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a mistake.
Right.
It was just a challenge and a learning opportunity.
It's an opportunity to learn.
That's
Absolutely.
right. Well, buddy, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing the story and making us all feel safe to take little micro risks every day.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much. This episode is sponsored by Genesis AEC. Genesis AEC, where science meets the built environment. As an ENR number 5 ranked firm, we provide a single point of accountability for life sciences and advanced manufacturing. We integrate architecture, engineering, and construction with specialized CQV, asset management, and sustainability to deliver high-performance facilities nationwide. This episode is also sponsored by Steel Toe Communications. Steel Toe Communications builds marketing from the field up, using real projects, real crews, and real results. They help construction owners attract the right people, tighten up their messaging, and build long-term trust with marketing that reflects how their company actually operates, not something pulled from a template. And this episode is also sponsored by Illuminate. Illuminate empowers businesses with AI-driven marketing, revenue operations, and CRM implementation and training to drive sales growth and strengthen customer engagement. If your business is navigating the messy middle and you're ready to grow with purpose, with a partner that understands B2B business marketing and operations, visit illuminate.com to connect.